We are extremely honored to have her with us, and we formally, on your behalf, I welcome her to this space, but I would also very much like to give very special thanks, deep gratitude and appreciation for His Excellency Mr. Radhir Jaiswal, the Consul General, thanks to whom we are hosted here today. I understand that we now have a ceremony with the lighting of the lamps to undertake. But before we do so, I just need some guidance from our colleagues on the floor. Is it okay to, maybe we need to wait for a few minutes. We wait for 5 minutes. Okay. Right. So you can go back to having your conversations on your table now. That's okay. Please welcome their Excellencies and Holinesses as they join us. Her Excellency Minister of State, the Honorable Meenakshi, Lekhi, Swamiji, and Sadhviji, and His Excellency Mr. Radhir Jaiswal. Thank you. Please be seated. In the tradition of all of us, we like to share and begin with a moment of shared silence before we formally begin our program. Now that we have been able to welcome their Excellencies, please join me in a moment of shared meditative silence together. Thank you very much. So we are gathered here today to celebrate the power of faith for ourselves, our communities, and our world. And this is in celebration of the release of Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati's seminal book, Hollywood to the Himalayas, A Journey of Healing and Transformation. This is a launch that we are extremely honored to have graced by Her Excellency the Honorable Meenakshi Lekhi, as well as His Excellency Mr. Radhir Jaiswal, whom we will welcome in a minute to give the formal welcome, but we wish to make sure that we can give our special thanks for this very gracious hosting of us. I am also meant to share very briefly a message from the President of the American Indian Association, Mr. Jagdish Suhani, thanks to whom we were able to organize this. Unfortunately, Mr. Suhani, in spite of working quite significantly, had to leave to go back to India for a death in the family. We wish him much strength and wellness for him and his loved ones. Mr. Suhani wished us to announce that he was very glad he had the opportunity to coordinate this event at the Indian Consulate General. He has known His Holiness Pujya Swami, Saraswati and Sadhvi Bhagawatiji for many years and was always deeply touched and impressed by their commitment to the service to others. And he is very grateful for the presence of the Special Advisor to the Secretary General of the United Nations and for me. But we are all particularly grateful for the Honorable Minister Meenakshi Lekhi's presence and the respected Consul General in this important event on the power of faith. He considers this a historic event that we are able to celebrate this very critical narrative from a woman of faith leader. He received a copy of the book and recommends it highly to all of you. He found it touching, inspiring, and was uplifted by this American, Jewish, Stanford-educated woman who 25 years ago made India her home and has wholeheartedly embraced our ancient, cultural, timeless culture and heritage with power of faith and the power of belief. Any situation can change. And this is the message from Mr. Jagdish Suhani, read on his behalf. I could not echo it more strongly. Can I now please invite us to have the light ceremony?
Namaste to all of you. Honorable Minister of External Affairs and Culture, Government of India, Madam Meenakshi Lekhi, Pujya Swamiji, most respected Sadhviji, and all our distinguished friends and high dignitaries on stage and in the hall present here. On behalf of the Consulate General of India, I warmly welcome you to this function. We have several functions at the Consulate, but when it is a function steeped in knowledge and wisdom and spirituality, it is a very special occasion for us. Thank you so much for giving us, Swamiji and Sadhviji, this opportunity to be part of this millennia story of India, of carrier of knowledge and wisdom across the world. This morning we had a yoga session led by Honorable Minister. Yesterday we had a session with the community where Honorable Minister spoke about India's civilizational march, India's vibrant democracy, And now we have this event anchored in knowledge and wisdom of India. There is an underlying thread in all the three events, and that thread is the Indian thought. The thought of spirituality, of togetherness, of kindness, and the world being one family. So with that, I once again warmly welcome you, and I seek the blessings of Pujya Swamiji and all our elders, distinguished elders, to bring peace and prosperity for one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And now, if I may, ask for the presentation of this wonderful book, the occasion of which we're all gathered for, to the dignitaries on the dais, if you please. As this is being done, please allow me to correct and apologize to you. I did not even introduce myself to you. My name is Azza Karam, and I have the privilege to serve an organization called Religions for Peace. Thank you for having me with you here today.
And also, I could invite Audrey and Jonathan and Azza.
Thank you very much indeed. We have all been blessed with a wonderful gift, and we can all ask Sadhviji afterwards to please sign it. For the time being, however, given the time and the fact that we want to honor the presence of Her Excellency with us because she has very limited time to be with us, let me make sure that we can go through our program to the best of our collective abilities. I now take the privilege of inviting Ms. Alice Nderitu to give her presentation. If she'll allow me a second to introduce a woman who needs a lifetime to be introduced. Ms. Alice Nderitu is the Special Advisor to the Secretary General of the United Nations, and she's the head of the United Nations Office of Genocide Prevention. She's a recognized voice in peace building and violence prevention, having led as mediator and as senior advisor several reconciliation processes amongst communities in her native country, Kenya, as well as in other African settings. She served as commissioner of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission of Kenya and was a founding member and co-chair of the Uyano Platform for Peace, a prevention agency linking early warning to early response in Kenya. She's the founder of the Community Voices for Peace and Pluralism, a network of African women professionals preventing, transforming, and solving violent, ethnic, racial, and religious conflicts worldwide. What is not on her official bio that I will take the liberty to share with all of you is that Ms. Nderitu is a leader, recognized as such amongst many, many men and women around the world, not by virtue of degrees, but by virtue of a wonderful presence and wonderful character. We are all very deeply honored. Ms. Nderitu, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Azza. What an honor it is to be introduced by you, because you enrich our lives and our work in so many ways. We've had the privilege of working with you. You are an institution in our office, and I'd just like to say thank you very much for the journeys that we keep working together, and the journey that you walked with my predecessor, Adam Adieng, who spoke so well of you and left me a little list with names of people that I have to talk to immediately, and you are top of the list. So thank you very much, Professor Azza Karam. So today, I come here today for the launch of the book, The Power of Faith, Healing and Transforming Ourselves, Our Communities and Our World, Hollywood to the Himalayas, a journey of healing. So first, I would like to start by thanking the author, Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, first for inviting me to this event, and also thank you to the Consulate of India for hosting this event. I only got to know Sadhvi personally only recently, and I was speaking to her in this virtual meeting, and I told her, because the kind of life that we lead, the kind of meeting I have just come from just now, is a meeting in which we are trying to solve the problems of the world. Most of those problems have to do with war. We work on the prevention of genocide and atrocities, that is war crimes and crimes against humanity. So you can imagine the kind of work that we do on any single day. And I was so struck that just by speaking with her, I got into the meeting already anxious to move on to another meeting because there is always so much to do. And yet I felt a huge sense of calmness just by talking to her, and I told her so. And I told her that what I felt was a very important characteristic for peace builders, as we are. And in this world that is so dominated by speed, stress, and bustle, I would like to say that it's extremely rare to find the calmness that came from Sadhvi on that day. So again, just like Azza, my predecessor Adam Adieng spoke very highly about you and introduced me to your work locally and internationally. So I'm very thankful for your support, Sadhvi, to my office and mandate, especially as regards the development and implementation of the plan of action for religious leaders and actors to prevent incitement to violence that could lead to atrocity crimes, which we also call the FAIR's plan of action. It's named the FAIR's plan of action after the city in Morocco in which it was launched. So the FAIR's plan of action was developed under the leadership of my predecessor in my office and launched by the UN Secretary General in July 2017. It has also been welcomed by the United Nations General Assembly. It includes inputs from faith-based actors from all over the world on ways they can prevent incitement to violence and save lives. So dear friends, when Sadhvi invited me to this launch event today, I really did not hesitate at all, she will tell you, as I firmly believe that her work reflects very well on the values and principles of the United Nations Charter, international human rights standards, and the FAIR's plan of action. Indeed, I believe that while it is the state that has the primary responsibility to protect populations from atrocity crimes, by which I mean genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity, local civil society actors also play a very important role. These actors have the capability to influence large groups of populations when they use their voice to promote non-discrimination, respect for diversity, and the importance of inclusive and peaceful societies. They can therefore be role models and positive influencers contributing to prevention and peace-building efforts on the ground. So much of the work that we do is on prevention, and I always say that one of the most difficult aspects of the kind of work we do is that we can never quantify how much we prevent. So I would say that relatedly, prevention is most effective when it is anchored in and implemented by local communities who are on the ground. It is mainly among local communities that these atrocities happen. And these communities know the context and can recognize early warning signs of atrocity crimes better than and before the government or other relevant actors. They are also most affected when violence breaks out and therefore have strong interest in solving tensions before they escalate and in restoring peace. Therefore, their insights and contribution are essential and irreplaceable. I would like to say that Sadhvi represents those religious leaders and actors who are taking a strong stand on the protection and promotion of human rights and on the prevention of atrocity crimes at international and local levels. She deliberately chose to help, support, and protect the most discriminated and marginalized. So I'd like to highlight the fundamental role played by grassroots women and women-led organizations in preventing atrocity crimes. The Secretary General consistently emphasizes this point and did so in his 2020 report on the responsibility to protect on gender equality and women's equal and meaningful participation to advance the prevention of atrocity crimes globally. So as I wind up, I would like to say that there is plenty of research demonstrating that women's participation makes the achievement of peace agreements more likely, more lasting, and more firmly rooted in respect for human rights and commitments to address social inequalities, and that local women peace builders in particular play an essential role in the nexus between conflict and violence and the immediate needs of the affected populations. Sadhvi is one of these local women peace builders that I have just described. She is a prominent and respected spiritual leader in a male-dominated world. We salute her, and we say that we know she embodies the quintessence of local peace builders. So as a United Nations Special Advisor on the prevention of genocide, I'll continue to partner with Sadhvi and other women religious actors to advance the prevention of atrocity crimes globally. Because it is only with the contribution of people like Sadhvi that we can strive towards a world free from atrocity crimes. Therefore, my dear Sadhvi, please count on my full support and that of my office, and thank you so much for writing this book. We will always be grateful that you wrote this book. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Miss Alice Nderitu. One could not second everything you have said more firmly about Sadhviji Bhagawati Saraswati. I now had the great privilege, first of all, to remind us that we have to finish really quickly, but really more to now welcome a very, very good friend, a mentor, and a leader. We've gone from a woman leader in Africa, to a woman leader in the United States who is rooted in Hawaii. I now have the great pleasure to invite Ms. Audrey Kitagawa, JD, is the president and founder of the International Academy for Multicultural Cooperation and the president of the Light of Awareness International Spiritual Family. And in that regard, she is a faith leader in her own right. She is the co-facilitator of the United Religions Initiative, United Nations Cooperation Circle, and the chair emerita of the NGO Committee on Spirituality, Values, and Global Concerns. It may be interesting to note, since we just heard from a powerful leader from Africa, it may be interesting to note that Miss Audrey Kitagawa has been installed into the royal family in Ghana as the Nekoso Hema, which means Queen Mother of Development. So any questions on development, she's your lady. In Ghana, West Africa, and has a school which she helped to build, named after her in her African name, which is the Nana Ode Ayankobeya Junior Secondary School. She's a published author and is listed in the Who's Who of American Law, the Who's Who of American Women, the Who's Who in America, Who's Who in the World, and Prominent People of Hawaii. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable excellencies, I give you Ms. Audrey Kitagawa, please. Welcome.
Thank you so much, everyone, for this privilege and opportunity to be here with all of you today in what is truly a celebration. And I express my deepest appreciation and gratitude to the Consulate General of India, Pujya Swamiji, Saraswati, Chidanand, and our beloved Sadhviji. And it is wonderful that we have this opportunity to share in her life's experiences. And as I read her wonderful book about faith, this is the event for today, The Power of Faith. And as I read it, I understood that the power of faith is so important and essential in our lives because it is a stepping stone into opening the great door, the door that leads you into the mystery. And the mystery of the divine, where there are the knowns and the unknowns, but it is that unknown that speaks to us, that comes in the power of grace. And as I read the book, I said, this is a book about the power of God's grace. And in that grace, incredible things happen that transcend the limitations of the five senses and the five elements. And things that are inexplicable are unfolding like the beautiful flowing waters of the great Mother Ganga to reveal that there are mysteries in the universe waiting for us to experience. And in that experience is the power of God's transformation. And once you have touched the nectar of this transformation, you never go back to being the same. And so I celebrated with great joy and also with great laughter. I found myself in the recumbent bike in the gym, reading Sadhviji's book and bursting out in laughter because there is also the humor in her journey. And so too is, the real beautiful humor of the divine in all of the mysteries that are unfolding in our lives. And so this power of grace is so beautiful to behold. And all of us have access to this grace if we undertake the sacred journey that is guiding us in all the different ways to ultimately awaken to the reality and the importance of why we have come here. And that is God realization. And when we have the privilege and opportunity to be in the presence of enlightened masters who help to guide us along the way, in their infinite love, that unconditional love, they are forever unfolding and telling the stories of love and helping to show us that in all of life's experiences that we may experience, in the seemingly ordinariness of daily living, is the magnificence and the power of the divine to give us, through God's infinite love and mercy, the actual lessons of love. So for every situation that we may be experiencing, know that that is the power of divine love being made manifest in our lives, in all the myriad of manifestations. And we thank the blessed ones who come to help uplift our bodies, minds, and spirits to the higher realms of consciousness and transport us through their beautiful words, through their beautiful teachings, through their sacred transmissions, that we may awaken to the reality of who we are as sacred beings and children of the one great God. Thank you so much for this privilege and opportunity to be with all of you today.
Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Audrey Kitagawa, for that beautiful message that went to the heart of each and every one of us, I'm sure. You mentioned being in the presence of enlightened beings. I would say we have a whole dais of enlightened beings and a whole room full of them. So we have much to be grateful for. I now have the great honor of introducing a friend who's dear, dear to me in many ways, and I consider her also to some extent my guru. Dr. Sadhviji Bhagawati Saraswati is the author and of this book, From Hollywood to the Himalayas. She's a spiritual leader in her own right and a motivational speaker, and she's based at Parmat Nikitan Ashram in Rishikesh in India. She's originally from Los Angeles and a graduate of Stanford University. She was ordained into the Sacred Order of Sannyas by her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji, and has been living at Parmat Nikitan for almost 25 years. She has a very illustrious CV, but since she's the author, I'm going to read it all. She's the Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance, President of the Divine Shakti Foundation, and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival at Parmat Nikitan, which has been covered by many prestigious publications and has been addressed by both the Prime Minister and Vice President of India, no less. She happens to serve on the United Nations Advisory Council on Religion. It's the Multi-Faith Advisory Council for the United Nations Interagency Task Force on Religion and Development. She's also on the Advisory Council of the King Abdullah Center for Interfaith and International and Interreligious Dialogue. She's on the steering committee of various partnerships, global partnerships on religion that are affiliated to the World Bank and the United Nations, and she's a regular speaker there. In addition, Sadhviji has received numerous awards and recognition for her leadership role in India, including from the Cabinet Minister of Water Resources, as well as from the Ambassador of the United States to India. She was the managing editor for the monumental project, and it is monumental, of an 11-volume encyclopedia of Hinduism. If you do not have this, get it. She oversees a variety of humanitarian projects, teaches meditation, lectures, writes, counsels individuals and families, and serves as a unique female voice of spiritual leadership throughout India and the world. She's a treasure for all of us. Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, please, I invite you to be at the dais.
What an incredible honor and blessing it is today. I'm so deeply grateful to our Honorable Minister, Srimati Meenakshi Lekhi for adapting and changing her program, her international travel program, at the very last minute to be able to be with us here today. I am so grateful to the Honorable Special Advisor to the United Nations, the head of the UN Office of Genocide Prevention, the Honorable Ms. Alice Nderitu, for your just boundless love and support. To our Honorable Consul General of India, Shri Radhir Jaiswalji, for your incredible graciousness in offering to host this event and hosting it so beautifully, so graciously. To my dearest sister, friend, Professor Azza Karam, for your time, brilliance of energy in the conceptualization and implementation of this, and your commitment to bringing this teaching of the power of faith, even in the midst of a pandemic, that we were going to do this in person. To beloved friends, Audrey, Kitagawa, Jonathan Granoff, who are doing such incredible work in the world, bringing such healing, for being here. And of course, to Param Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji, without whom there wouldn't be a book, there wouldn't be an event, who truly brought faith into my life. I wouldn't be standing here before you if it weren't for him and his blessings and his grace. The power of faith transformed me. It was that miraculous alchemical energy that enabled me to let go and be free of the pain of my past, to forgive, and to move into a new future. It was that power of faith that enabled me to open my heart to the incredible, infinite power of the divine, from which I wasn't separate. Those of you who know my full story know that it was the power of faith that brought me to Rishikesh, India to begin with. That it was that power of faith that carried me from California across the world to India with a backpack. Literally, from Hollywood to the Himalayas. And that power of faith that made me know that we were meant to stay in the one hotel in all of Rishikesh that required us to walk across a 400-meter swinging footbridge carrying all of our luggage, because it was going to be that space, that place, that brought me onto the banks of Ganga, where I would have that experience. And that power of faith, when I stood on the banks of the sacred Ganga and experienced the presence of the divine outside of me as well as inside of me. And that power of faith that made me know that I wasn't crazy when I heard a divine voice say, "You must stay here," as I walked through Parmarth Nikatan Ashram. And that power of faith when my feet quite literally got stuck to the ground of the ashram. And that power of faith in myself as that seed that was just beginning to blossom and open, being nourished and nurtured by the presence of the divine, manifest in so many ways. And the power of faith continues to be that energy through which I move through the world every minute and every moment. And that power of faith that I can be an instrument, a tool, a vehicle, a vessel. As St. Francis of Assisi says so beautifully, "O Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace." But the power of faith is not only a personal blessing, it's also the core foundation of the work that we do. Bringing together leaders of the different faiths, emphasizing that all of our religions implore us to serve, to be instruments of healing, of health, of love, of service. And then uniting those leaders hand in hand, heart in heart, for water, for sanitation, for hygiene, for climate change, for women's empowerment, for gender equality, to end genocide. That extraordinary power of faith. It's said, faith can move mountains. But the largest mountain I've ever seen that needs to be moved is the stone in our hearts that keeps us separate from each other. And the power of faith is that which can help us move the stone out of our hearts so that we can open in oneness, in love, in service, together, across every boundary and every border of race, of religion, of color, of culture. And it's been such a great honor to have the opportunity to serve with you in so many different capacities as those instruments of peace, of healing through our faith. And lastly, just to conclude again with such deep gratitude, and also deep gratitude to our friends in the media who are helping bring this power of faith to people across the nation and across the world. Our Shri H.R. Shahji and Georgie Balaji of TV Asia, our Dr. Sudhir Parekji with ITV and so much else in service of the nation. Our Sunil Halji, Sharanjit, so many who are here to help bring not just information, but inspiration. And such deep gratitude and joy to be here with you all and have our friends and our family from the United Nations and the United Creations. As Pujya Swamiji always says, we have Nihal Sad from UNAOC, our Bani Dugal from the International Baha'i Foundation, and our Simona Cruciani, who is from the Office of Genocide Prevention, and so many others who are truly serving in such beautiful ways through that power of faith to touch and heal the world. So thank you. Thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you very much indeed, Sadhviji Bhagawati Saraswati, and thank you for highlighting the role that you lead so powerfully of bringing faith leaders together across the different divides in order to serve all communities, barring none. That is how you are also serving us in Religions for Peace, which is the United Nations of Religious Institutions globally. And with that particular hat on, I now would like to particularly welcome Mr. Jonathan Granoff. Dr. Jonathan Granoff is the president of the Global Security Institute, an attorney, an author, an international advocate emphasizing the legal and ethical dimensions of human development and security, with a specific focus on advancing the role of law to address international security and the threats posed by nuclear weapons. He serves on numerous governing and advisory boards, including the Lawyers' Committee on Nuclear Policy, the Fortune Forum, the Jane Goodall Institute, Parliamentarians for Nuclear Non-Proliferation and Disarmament, and a number of others. He is an award-winning and a prolific author, and he has been a featured guest and expert commentator on numerous radio and television programs and has presented expert testimony to the Parliaments of Canada and the United Kingdom, as well as the United States Congress and the United Nations. We are very honored to have Dr. Jonathan Granoff with us here today. Dr. Granoff, the floor is yours.
My beloved brothers and sisters, Your Excellency, Madam Minister, Mr. Consular General, Swamiji. Stopping genocide is probably the task of all humanity at this time, because presently our irresponsible way in which we heat our homes and drive our cars places all human beings at risk. The production and threat to use nuclear weapons is a level of genocide unprecedented, unimaginable. And yet we produce them each day and make them ready to be used in the pursuit of security. I've noticed that the pandemic doesn't carry a passport and could be a genocide of our entire species. There are so many threats that threaten the very life of humanity today. India has a mantra going back before time was recorded historically that says the world is one family. And never before in human history has this spiritual admonition become a practical necessity. Because we can't deal with these threats at a national level or at a level of religious differences. We have to deal with these threats which are universal in a universal manner. And that requires the power of ought, the power of faith and hope, because that's the compass point that guides the heart, that can guide our hands and brings clarity to our thoughts. It's been expressed in many ways, such as the Golden Rule. Nations have to take that on themselves. When we bring that into our personal lives, we have coherence in our thinking and our actions. When it's absent in families, they end up in divorce. And if it's not brought into the affairs of state, it will be a catastrophe for future generations. We have to treat other states, other beings, as we treat ourselves, because in truth, the teaching of Swamiji, the teaching of the great masters of India, from Ashok to Mahavir to Ramakrishna to Ramana Maharshi to Baba Mahayadin to Khaja Moinuddin Chisti to Nizamuddin, to so many wise, transcendent beings, is that when the wave bows down in humility and service, it realizes it is one with the ocean of life, and we are one. And the first time that I heard Swamiji speak, I had the privilege of chairing the Visions for the 21st Century conference to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the United Nations at St. John the Divine. And Swamiji's words ring true today as they did at that time. This was in 1995. I had hair then. Swamiji said, we can either be in peace or be in pieces. And the teaching of yoga or union, the teaching of the prophets, of Muhammad, of Moses, of Jesus, is that teaching of unity. So in the drama of a person's life, one can just go through the drama of life or understand the 4 steps. Shariya, Kiriya, Yogam, Jnanam, Shariat, Tarikat, Hakikat, Marifat, the 4 spiritual steps. Life is either a random set of experiences that signify nothing, or you can have a discipline to find the good and the bad in it. And then from that, discern the qualities of the divine in the dramas of life. Love, compassion, patience, and within those qualities is the power of faith that reveals the jyoti, the illumination of the soul, and union with the divine through the illumination of the soul. And within that is the realization of jnanam, or marifat, which is the absolute unity of all lives. So Swamiji said to all of us when he spoke to our beloved sister who is making this teaching available, and it rings true to me today and should ring true to all of us. These were his instructions. I want you to get closer and closer to God every day. The way to get closer to God is through compassion and love and humility and open-heartedness. Second, serve humanity. And third, be happy. Perfect instructions for us today and every day. And thank you, my beloved sister, for making it available to so many people. God's peace be with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I've just been alerted that we are in danger of losing our Honorable Minister of State. So I will now call upon His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji, the President of the Parmat Nikitan Ashram in Rishikesh. He is a spiritual being of light, someone who was touched by God at the age of 8 and has since lived and served selflessly. You've already heard some of his words through Dr. Jonathan, and now we hear from the enlightened man himself. Welcome.
Sahana vavatu sahanau bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु avadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Shanti Shanti Shanti. It's such a wonderful, beautiful confluence of west to the east and east to the west, and wonderful confluence of world of prayer, of development, of culture, and of United Nations and the United Creations. And it is also so beautiful to have our Honorable Minister, a great Shakti, a amazing leadership providing in India, and the best thing I like from her, that she believes in oneness, in togetherness. And the mantra also is in the nation is Sabka Saath or Sabka Vikas. Believes in ethos of India and serving all without any barriers of boundaries of caste, creed, color, region, and religions. Our beautiful, another great lady, that means the divine feminine energy in the UN. My dear Miss Alice, a great leader in the world of faith and interfaith. Dr. Azza Karam, our Honorable Consul General of India, Shri Jaiswalji, a great man whom you have heard just before me, Dr. Jonathan. So many. I can go on and on because I know many shining stars are sitting here in their own areas, in their own organizations. Last but not the least, my dear sisters and brothers. We are hearing from all these powerful leaders, power of faith. And because working with so many interfaith leaders in the international arena, and especially in India and in Africa and many other countries, I have witnessed one more powerful thing. The faith is amazing. It's amazing that how faith can become a powerful weapon to heal and to harm also. And how faith can become a powerful tool to unite and to divide also. Today, there is a virus in the air, but let there not be virus in our minds and in our hearts. That our faith teaches us. If we are one family, our world is one family. This is the beautiful culture of India. This is the spirit of India. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world is one family. In the UN, we brought these human rights commissions and human rights committees very late. But thousands and thousands of years ago, our rishis and seers and sages given the mantra Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha is on and on. I will not go because time is very short. May all be happy. May all be healthy. All. This allness, this oneness, this togetherness, this inclusiveness is the mantra of India. And India believes for. And India, we were just talking, Honorable Minister and myself, that India is not only a piece of land. India is a land of peace. Stands for peace. Works for peace, walks for peace, doesn't give any lecture on peace, but really work for peace. No matter what, India has never attacked any country or anyone, always have attracted people. Whoever came to India and stayed forever, last. Because today there are so much I can talk about how I learned, not from the books, not from the religious masters, about faith, about power of faith, but to me, it came from my mother. To me, mothers are the special blessing on this earth. I always have great regards for the Shaktis. But I will not share today those stories because I was very young. I was only 8 when I had the opportunity, get the blessing, get the power of faith from my mother, and moved to the jungle in the forest. Those stories, today there is no time, but today, last but not the least, that story of faith you have seen, how that power of faith has brought transformation and healing in Sadhviji's life. I remember 25 years ago, when she came, graduating from Stanford and doing her bit of the program of the PhD, and came to India. And on the banks of Ganga, I know the time is short, our minister has to leave. And we have discussed, right after me she is going to speak. But I want to tell her that what faith can do in one person's life, and that one person, how can brought the change in millions people's of life. And whoever comes there, I have seen, who listens to her. In that few moments, they stay there, they be there, and they bring that change in their lives. Because she learned how to let go. She learned how to forgive. She learned the lesson how to serve. She learned the lesson how not to be in pieces, but to be in peace. She learned the lesson not to be bitter, but how to become better. All these so many lessons are there. We can go on, but all is here in this book. And what made me very happy, mostly people write books to become famous or to earn money also. Sometimes a lot of royalty comes. She said, my every penny from this book will go for the women of India or anywhere the help is needed. It will go for water conservation, saving the rivers, working for the climate change. Let us work together, be together, and today, in 21st century, if any mantra will work, it will be togetherness. The power of togetherness. Let us work together, and that is the mantra from our Indian culture. Thank you, Honorable Minister. मीनाक्षी जी, आप आए, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा. आप रुक गए, आए तो लेकिन रुक भी गए, और ये रुकना ही जीवन में चलना सिखाता है। कई बार कुछ रुकना बहुत कुछ दे जाता है। बस मुझे बड़ी प्रसन्नता है कि आप रुके इन क्षणों के लिए, इसका भी धन्यवाद। धन्यवाद।
Honorable Meenakshi Lekhi ji is not only the Minister of State for External Affairs and Culture of India, she's also the Member of Parliament representing New Delhi, is a lawyer in the Supreme Court of India. She won the New Delhi parliamentary constituency as a BJP candidate in the 2014 elections and was re-elected in 2019. In 2016, she was appointed as chairperson of the Committee on Privileges of the Lok Sabha in Parliament, and in 2019, Lekhi ji was appointed as chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Public Undertakings. But that's not all. Besides writing articles in journals, periodicals, and newspapers on social political issues, she participates in various television shows on matters of national and international importance. Lekhi ji, Honorable Meenakshi Lekhi ji, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Azza. Thank you, Swamiji, Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji, Sadhviji, Sadhvi Bhagawatiji, Alice, and our own CG, Mr. Jaiswal, Jonathan, my friends and brothers and sisters. So where Swamiji left, I thought I'll start from there. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu naramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kadaschit dukh bhavet. Which means everyone should be happy and peaceful. May everyone be without ailments. Let the world be in peace. Isn't that the prayers that we all believe in and have isn't this the faith is all about? But how hard it is to get there. That is what the surrounding conditions and surrounding prevalent conditions across the globe, especially the UN, would be going through right now. That a simple truth, difficult to exercise, simple faith, and how faith unites and spirituality unites, but the same faith taken in a different direction could divide and change the characters of people. And that change in the character of people is what I have been speaking about since morning at a political level, with various people and various agencies across. Because I feel whether it's United Nations or its Security Council, the security situation, everything is erupting from lack of peace. And when people like Jonathan who are working on anti-nuclear devices, but what about bioweapons? What about people who are constantly creating difficulties for others in the world? And from where is all this coming from? I think all this is coming from the thought. And what India has to offer to the world is the thought and thought leadership that at least COVID-19 has shown us. What is it that humanity needs the most? Humanity needs the most is faith and faith in goodness and unification of consciousness. And that unification of consciousness comes from no matter which religion, the manner of sitting, the manner of offering prayers to the God is, but it is the prayer what you offer to the God which unites us all. And I'm going to read a prayer from the book. I suddenly discovered this and I felt it is speaking of what we believe in, what I believe in, and I'm sure most of the people who are joined here believe in the same. It says, "Thank you, Ma, my mother. Thank you for waking me again today, for letting my eyes open in the land of your infinite grace. Thank you for making my legs able to carry me to your banks and then to my office. Thank you for bringing me forth to this life of service, this life of light, this life of love, this life of God, Let my work today be in service of you. May you be hand that guides mine. And most importantly, please, 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 let me be worthy of living on your banks. Is this not the prayer which is in everybody's heart? And that is what I call unification of consciousness. And I want everyone to read it deeply, because here is a transformation of a person, because most people are running after all kind of glamorous things, and thus the name Hollywood to the Himalayas. So from the life of glamour to the life of austerity is how a person has been transformed. My personal experience due to COVID has been that end of the day, what is it that we are looking for? I think peace. What is it that we are running after? I think the grace. And everything else is such a charade that let's move on to the right path, be the instrument in the hands of our faith, God, divinity, spirituality, whatever word you may use, but be the instrument which God can use for doing the right things. And that's what I pray for, and I'm sure everyone prays for the same. With these words, thank you all for being here. And I know this is going to be a bestseller. And I have full faith that this is going to transform many lives and bring peace to many lives. People who are still searching for peace, they should know that how change in faith can bring peace, and how certain faiths which are monotheistic in their origin and monotheistic in their believe in only one way of life. How can that be? If mankind has so many manifestations, each one will manifest itself differently. As long as there is unity of consciousness, let everybody blossom. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much indeed, Honorable Meenakshi Lekhi ji. You captured and encapsulated the spirit and the wisdom beautifully. Thank you for that, and thank you for bearing with us as the time continued and egged on. We understand you have a very, very important meeting to go to, and we thank you for your patience. I wish to thank every member who has spoken thus far. I wish to thank everyone in the room. I do also wish to thank the government of India and the country and the nation. I, by the way, grew up in India for the first 5 years of my life. I have a very passionate feeling towards it, so it's an honor and a privilege for me to be with you here today. It is not only that we are celebrating this amazing dais of enlightened people, but we are celebrating a moment in time when we need one another so deeply, as humbly as we possibly can. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Meenakshi, Honorable Meenakshi. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for your company.